Hey Team Uno. Today we're going to talk about how to find the volume of prisms and cylinders. Now we learned yesterday that a prism has rectangular faces and it has two polygonal bases. So today we're going to learn how to find the volume of those prisms. So remember, you can always pause the video, you can always rewind the video, or you can rewatch it if you're not sure on something. The number or the volume of three-dimensional figures is the number of cubic units needed to fill the space inside the figure. The number of cubic units needed to fill the space inside a figure. And if you need longer, you can always pause the video to write that down. A cubic unit is a cube with edges that are 1 unit long. So if you're measuring in the unit of inches, you would have a cube that every edge is 1 inch long. If you're measuring in the unit of meters, you would have a cube with every edge 1 meter long. So a cubic unit is a cube with edges 1 unit long. And once again, depending on the unit you're using. All right, so if you look over here on the side, this figure here, when we talk about the number of cubic units needed to fill the space inside a figure, we're looking at this top figure. We have a figure that is 10 centimeters long, 4 centimeters wide, and then it's 3 centimeters tall. To fill this figure with cubic units, our unit would be centimeters, it's going to take 10 blocks long and 4 rows of 10. So for one layer on the bottom, we're going to have 40 cubic units. And then if you look at the very bottom, you're going to see that we're going to have to duplicate that layer of 40 3 times. So 4 times 40 is going to give us 120 cubic units or cubes to fill this figure. So that's how we can find the volume. You can use a generic formula for volume of any figure you ever come in contact with. Volume equals capital B, H, where V stands for volume. The capital B stands for area of the base. Now, depending on what kind of shape you have, that's going to depend on what kind of base you have. If you have a rectangular prism, your base would be rectangle. If you have a triangular prism, your base would be a triangle. If you have a cylinder, your base would be a circle. So whatever your base is, find the area of it, and then multiply that times the height of the figure. The height is basically the distance between your two bases. So expanding on that a little bit, the formula for a rectangular prism, starting out with volume equals area of the base times the height. In a rectangular prism, the base area is length times width. And then we have that times height. So the area of the base is right here, length times width times the height. Okay, we're not going to talk about formula for volume of cylinder right yet. We're going to come back to that in just a few minutes. So scoot on down on your paper, and here's some examples of volume of a rectangular prism. And we're going to work these out together. You're going to have a chance to show your work on your own in just a little bit. So always start by writing the formula. So volume equals length times width times height. And then right below, we're going to fill in our parts. So volume equals our length is right here, so that's 3, times our width is 4, times our height, the distance between our two bases, is 5. So when we multiply that out, 3 times 4 is 12, and then 12 times 5 is 60. So our volume equals 60 inches cubed. Now remember when we talked about area and we said it was inches squared because inches times inches would be written inches to the second power. So same thing here. If we had 4 times 4 times 4, we would write that as 4 to the third. If we had 10 times 10 times 10, we would write that as 10 to the third. If we had x times x times x, we would write that as x to the third. So same thing, if we have inches times inches times inches, which we have here, inches times inches times inches, we write that as inches to the third, or cubed. So that's where we come up with our inches cubed here in our answer. Okay, let's look at number 2. Okay, once again we're going to start by writing our formula. Volume equals length times width times height. Okay, if this length is 15, we know the same goes for these two. So our length is 15 times our width is 13 times our distance between our two bases is 9. When we multiply 15 times 13, we're going to get 195 times 9. When we multiply these two together, we get 1,755. And remember, inches times inches times inches gives us inches cubed. Okay, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to try to do this third one on your own. Once you finish that, start the video again and see if you got it right. All right, so here we go. We're going to start with volume equals length times width times height. Our length is right here, 5, times our width, 5, times our height, 5. So multiplying that out, 5 times 5 gives us 25. And then 25 times 5 gives us 125. And feet times feet times feet gives us feet cubed. All right, so now that we've talked about volume of a rectangular prism, we'll go back up here to volume of a cylinder. So going back to our volume equals capital B for area of the base times height. A cylinder has a circular base, and the area of a circle is pi times radius squared. So volume equals pi times radius squared, that is from this right here, this capital B, times our height, that is from this height of our figure. So volume equals pi times radius squared times the height. Okay, so moving back down here to our examples of volume of cylinder, always start by writing your formula. Volume equals pi times radius squared times the height. Pi we know is 3.14 times, we aren't given the radius in this particular figure, we're given the diameter. But since we know that the radius is half of the diameter, if the diameter is 20, then our radius has to equal 10. So 3.14 times 10 to the second power times the distance between our two bases is 17. Now, once again, order of operations says we have to get rid of exponents before we can add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So 3.14 times 10 to the second means 10 times 10, which is 100, times 17. Okay, multiplying in order from left to right, we have 3.14 times 100. That gives us 314 times 17. 314 times 17 gives me 533.8 centimeters cubed. Okay, let's move on over to our next one. Start by writing your formula. Volume equals pi times radius squared times the height. Remember, if you ever forget what the formula is for volume of a cylinder, just remember it's the area of the base. The base is a circle, so it's pi times radius squared times the height. So pi is 3.14 times my radius I'm given my diameter. I don't know my radius. But if my diameter is 12, my radius has to equal 6 because your radius is half of your diameter. So radius is 6 squared times the height. The height is the distance between the two bases. In this case, since it's kind of laid on its side, it's not necessarily up and down, but it's still the distance between the two bases, so it's still considered the height. So order of operations says exponents first, so 3.14 times 6 to the second means 6 times 6, which is 36, times 14. When we multiply this out in order from left to right, we have 3.14 times 36 gives us 113.04. And now we multiply that times 14. That gives us 1,582.56 meters cubed. So 1,582 and 56 meters cubed for our volume. All right, so your assignment is on Schoology. You can go ahead and rewatch this video if need be. Keep up with these notes because they should help you on your assignment. Have a good day. Bye-bye.